everybody, happy Halloween and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is The Daily Show, where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us is AMC Senior Editor, Miss Amy Rose Eisenbach.
Hey, hey, welcome to our Happy Halloween edition here at the Stream TV. We are very excited to be here with you all on this fine Friday.
Also here is AMC Production Manager, Dennis Zen.
Happy Halloween, everyone. I'm pretty sure most of you don't know who I am, but I'll give you a hint. This is a quote from where this character is from. It's just you and me, honey bunch.
Don't worry, it took us all like 10 minutes. And also here is writer-director John Schnepp.
And I've played the game and I still couldn't guess it. I was like, what are you, young and you killed yourself? Like, you know, so I really, the philosopher, young.
Yeah.
But I was wrong, so.
The plot synopsis and a new release date were released for the Coen brothers' new film, Hail Caesar. The film will open on February 5th, 2016, and is described as an all-star comedy set during the later years of Hollywood's golden age. Starring Josh Brolin, George Clooney, Ralph Fiennes, Tilda Swinton, Channing Tatum, Scarlett Johansson, and Jonah Hill, Hail Caesar follows a single day in the life of a studio fixer who is presented with plenty of problems to fix. Amy Rose, what do you make of the synopsis and new release date?
I don't really need many details for the Coen brothers. They really have yet to let me down. They're just so inventive and unique and creative. The cast that they always get, a lot of obviously return members here, but I'm really excited. The only disappointment I have here is that I thought we'd get it in 2015. So another year, but you know, if they just want to make sure it's right, I have faith in them. They're definitely two of my favorite siblings in the industry working together. And yeah, I love what they're doing. This is the third of the trilogy. The last one was Intolerable Cruelty. It's not connected fully, but it's supposed to relate to each other, probably kind of like the Cornetto trilogy with Edgar Wright. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about everything they touch. And yeah, can't wait. Dennis, what do you think?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm probably in the minority, especially in this town, about the Coen brothers. I like them. I think they're talented filmmakers, but I don't know. There's just something. There's a disconnect with me and their movies. I think they I don't know, the way maybe they tell their stories or their stories they choose to tell. But I will see it because I like their movies, and some of the movies I really like. And I don't know. I think I'm probably one of the only people in this town that isn't super excited about them.
That's why there's diversity in films, Shep.
Nice prop work, by the way. Yeah, you know what? I love the Coen brothers, but saying that this is tied to one of the Coen brothers films that I did not enjoy, which was Intolerable Cruelty.
Me too.
I really didn't like it. And I love almost all their other films. There's just two really that stick out. The other one is, I'll just say, Intolerable Cruelty, it didn't hit me. So that this is connected to it is a bit of a uh-oh for me, but it sounds, the premise sounds incredible. A day in the life of this guy trying to deal with a gangbusters, TV studio in the, I think it's what, the 50s?
I think so,
I don't even know if it's a Hail Caesar, is that
Hail Caesar.
Yeah, I can't wait. So, but I'll wait with some hesitation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That was definitely not. It was probably the only one I didn't love. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was what were you thinking? But I definitely didn't grab on. The characters were not that interesting to me either. And that's why it's again, it's not a trilogy. It's just it's loose. So I feel I don't know. I love the last few films, especially the path that they're on. And that's okay that you're not a mad fan. But yeah, I think they're awesome.
Is the title reference to Sid Caesar? I mean, that's what it feels like to me. The zany comedies from the 50s could be a Sid Caesar variety show kind of thing. So
yeah.
Then I'm in. So I hope that's what it is.
We'll have to wait and find out. Yeah. What's next?
Despite Michael Bay claiming he wouldn't be returning to direct Transformers 5, the general consensus believed that he would return in the end. Now it appears that he really won't be helming the picture. Bay is in early talks to direct Paramount's 13 Hours, which is based on the true story of recounting the attack on the U.S. Special Mission Compound in a nearby CIA annex in Libya on the 11th anniversary of September 11th. Bay went on to state that while he isn't returning for the next Transformers, this film will feature different elements and that it could bear similarities to Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down, or even his own The Rock. Dennis, what do you make of Bay's comments and him not returning for Transformers 5?
Well, I guess there's two parts to this. I'm happy that he's not returning to Transformers 5 because I think that franchise needs to be blown up and rebuilt again. I don't think that's going to happen. He's going to still, I think, produce it, and I'm sure his influence will be felt. But in terms of the 13 Hours to Benghazi movie, if I were Michael Bay, I would stay away. I mean, it's a highly controversial subject matter, and this is a person who does not have a subtle hand. And he's someone who turns something as, you know, supposedly innocuous as Transformers into a controversial thing. Like, if people are fighting over just that, imagine if he does a movie like this. I mean, if he were actually gonna do it in the way that Block Hawk Down, like Ridley Scott did, or Paul Greengrass when he did United 93, where it's more of a retelling of events versus actually like a viewpoint. I'm afraid Michael Bay, and we've seen in his other movies, he has the flag waving, America F yeah sentimentality, and I think if he does that to something like this, it's gonna just, I don't know. If he thinks he has controversy with just the Transformers movie, this is gonna be way, way worse.
Schnapp?
Well, I would use Pain and Gain in there to just say he can have a little bit of subtlety. He can do it. I've seen it. Pain and Gain is an example. That's only one example, though, of all of his other films and his ooh-wah. So, I don't know. It sounds like when he says, yeah, there might be a little bit of The Rock in there in a real-life story. You know, if you go back and watch The Rock, that's like a nonstop action film with incredible, amazing car chases.
And I like that movie.
I love that film, but it's an action film.
Yes,
it's not a
exactly.
retelling of something that's real. And, you know, that's where it's like, you know, taking liberties and, you know, smashing cars and stuff. It seems a little weird to me. But, you know, do I care that he's on a Transformers 5? No. So.
Well, you don't want to see soldiers coming out with a Bud Light or whatever?
I finally saw that scene on the airplane while I was on London.
Really?
I fast forwarded it just to that scene where I met you in the lobby and I was like, yeah, I'm just walking around. I was like, and you said, you missed the best product placement. I was like, finally saw it. Yeah, it was insane. Yeah. He's like, opens the beer off the guy's car.
Boom.
Like, I'm really angry about this product placement. Yeah.
So
they even had a
refreshing.
cutaway. They showed all the Bud Lights, and then there was an extra close-up of them in the flames. It was like, I don't know if you noticed all those blue bottles. Look at this crispy close-up with fire and stuff. Unreal.
He can do that for the Benghazi story. You know, he'll just Bud Light soldier opens up a Bud Light, downs it, has Beats headphones on.
I am very split on the matter. I'm glad he's not returning for Transformers. Some of you out there really like his films. We appreciate that. It made a lot of money, so you're not alone in the camp. But I would like to see maybe a more sci-fi focused director take on the franchise. We talked about Neil Blomkamp. He would be amazing. So I do want new life in the franchise. I mean, there's only so many giant explosions and chicks in mini skirts and that we can take. Nothing against either of those things, but in Bay's style, it's such a signature. You know it's Bay. So I do want some new life in the franchise. I think it's about damn time. It's the 5th. Yeah. I totally agree with your sentiments about taking on a historical piece like that, that if you think Transformers is divided, then imagine this. But I also admire it because, you know, when you're taking on something as controversial, anything in politics really, especially something that's still ongoing and relevant, I mean, it's really risky and it's really bold. And I think just as a filmmaker, it's just showing he wants to continue stretching and expanding himself. So I do appreciate that. The result might not be good, but maybe it will be because we did have The Rock and we did have Bad Boys and we did have good films from him. You know, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but it is a very risky move to take on something like that. But maybe he's got an eye for it.
I mean, if it comes out like Black Hawk Down or United 93, where it is kind of more taking a step back away from it, I'll give him props.
Yeah.
But I'm just worried.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, guys, we've now reached the buy or sell portion of our show. The lovely Kat over there has a couple other items picked out going on in the world of movie news, and we're going to say if we buy or sell it.
While it has not been confirmed, several sites are reporting that the standalone Wonder Woman film may actually be a prequel set in the 1920s. The report is stating that the first half of the film will take place on Paradise Island in the Amazon. Then Diana accompanies a man back to the world of man, and we discover it's the 1920s. The unannounced standalone sequel would take place during World War II in the 1930s and 40s, while Dawn of Justice is set back in modern day. Schnepp, if these reports are true, do you buy or sell the first Wonder Woman film taking place in the 1920s?
Yeah, I totally buy it. I think that's a great idea. I mean, it worked so well for Captain America. I mean, a lot of people are like, you're going to base the entire first Captain America in the 40s? It's like, yeah, that's actually what we're going to do because that's when the character was created and there's so much rich material there. And it gives him so much more to be, like, it basically creates his character that is now. It's like a man out of time, you know? I think with Wonder Woman, I think it's a great idea. I heard that the first half of it takes place on the, you know, the Amazonian island, and then she comes back and it's the 20s and she's experiencing all that. What was the pilot's name? Colonel, was it Rogers? I mean, it wasn't Rogers. I can't remember the.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, sorry guys. If you write it, tweet us what the guy's name was from the 40s who crash landed on the island. Then she came back with him to the U.S. So I think it's great. And then we'll get all this background on this character, and then we're going to see her. You know, obviously we're going to see her first in Batman v Superman. So. Yeah.
I love it too. I mean, Captain America, First Avenger, obviously, like, the film as a whole, I didn't love it as much as some of the other standalones, but not because of the tone. The tone was amazing. They captured that era so well, and I thought it added a different element to those superhero films, so I loved that part of it. And I think it's really smart to introduce her like this and then do the prequel. I'm a sucker for origin stories, and Wonder Woman, we've waited so long for this, and I'm glad that they're going to take the time with her. And I love the contrast of, you know, the Amazonian world and then coming to, you know, this different universe that's just like, whoa, and like women don't have a lot of rights and just everything that she went through. And I just think that with the right material and to approach it the right way, this could be really rich and really cool. So I'm looking forward to it if they can pull it off. Dennis?
I'm gonna sell it if it's the whole movie. I don't mind if it's the first third and then they lead, and they lead into the modern day. But you have to remember that Wonder Woman is the movie that leads into Justice League. And so that you got to kind of set up a lot of stuff. And plus, we want to see, I don't know how much she's going to be in Batman v Superman, but we want to see Wonder Woman in the modern world and maybe some of these characters on the peripheral so we can see how she fits in. So I actually think it's a terrible idea if they do the whole movie set in the 1920s because we want that lead in. I want the end of Wonder Woman to lead right into Justice League.
And it does bring up, like, the second, you know, the sequel that has not announced yet, because they wouldn't just go from 1920s, boom, to present day. Like, there'd have to be something. And I am fascinated with the World War II era. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. It's just rumor mill for now, but it raises some interesting questions. What's next?
Seth Rogen is in talks to play Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak opposite Christian Bale, who will portray Steve Jobs in Danny Boyle's new biopic. Jessica Chastain is also reportedly in talks for an unspecified role. Aaron Sorkin is behind the script of the story that focuses on 3 key times and product launches in the tech genius's life. Amy Rose, buy or sell Rogen portraying Wozniak?
I buy it. Everything about this project has me fascinated right now. Aaron Sorkin, we already know he's an incredible writer. Danny Boyle, he's literally done every genre. Like, he can do anything in my eyes. Jessica Chastain, I just hear her name. I'm like, yes, so full of yes. And I really think Seth Rogen, you know, we saw a little bit more of the dramatic side in 50/50 and a couple other films. And I think he has a lot more to say as an actor in dramatic roles. And I think this is a really interesting role for him to take on. And Christian Bale, I mean, acting opposite him, I mean, all of the elements are intact. So I think this would be a really good move for his career, especially since right now, you know, his camp is so good with producing and writing and doing all these comedies that also have that flair in it. So I'm intrigued. Schnepp?
Yeah, I am too. I got a chance to meet Wozniak, and he's always portrayed as like kind of like a clown or a goofball. He's a really smart guy, and he's one of the main reasons we have everything that we have now, all of our computers and stuff. So getting Seth Rogen, because he already has that kind of bearish, like lovable thing, but actually seeing the intelligence, I could see that as well. So it's great casting for him.
I buy it as well. Steve Wozniak is kind of a more kooky guy, and I think Seth Rogen fits that well. I'm just wondering about Steve Wozniak's place in the movie, though, because even though he co-founded Apple, he created the Apple I and Apple II, later on he became disassociated from Apple, so I don't know how, because these are focused on these product launch events, and I think 2 of them are fairly recent, which is like the iPhone and the iPad, I think, where he fits into that.
He'll just probably be in the first part.
Yeah.
You know, and then I don't think they're going to cut away to him like watching it, you know, on TV. So I'm sure he'll just be in a segment of it. That's what I guess.
But he's an important part of just Apple in general. So,
Yes.
like, I don't think he'll be a main character, but I do think that it would be, I don't know, make it more credible to weave him into the story. What's next?
In a recent interview, Crow creator James O'Barr confirmed that he is heavily involved in the Luke Evans reboot and had this to say on the matter. "We're not remaking the movie, we're readapting the book. My metaphor is that there is a Bela Lugosi Dracula and there's a Francis Ford Coppola Dracula. They use the same material, but you still get two entirely different films. This one's going to be closer to Taxi Driver or a John Woo film, and I think there's room for both of them. Part of the appeal of the Crow comics is that they can tell very different stories after all." Dennis, buy or sell O'Barr's description for the Crow reboot?
I'll buy his description. I think it's a fitting one. I don't know why he referenced Taxi Driver and John Woo in the same sentence, though, but I do think his take with the Dracula thing makes more sense. I'm looking forward to this. I really liked the first one with Brandon Lee and directed by Alex Proyas, and I didn't watch the sequels just because I knew they weren't really putting that much into them, but this one sounds like they're actually going to put some effort into it, plus Luke Evans as the lead character. Yeah, I'm in.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it mainly because O'Barr is like so heavily into that they're using his original movie. Because I love the first Crow as well, but it was very different from the comic book. So that they're going back to the original source material and trying to really stay true to it, it's way darker. So I'm all for it. And yeah, there's always different iterations of these characters, just like there's a different Superman every 5 years. Why not have a different Crow every 10 years? You know?
Yeah, I like his comments. I agree. The parallels he made, I was like, how are you going to pull that one off?
Crow is driving a taxi cab. You're looking at me.
And then doves fly out,
Yeah.
slow motion.
Yeah, cabs flipping in the air. Yeah. See.
I'm in. Cool. Then the skeletons come on screen, craziness. But yeah, I like the idea that they're potentially going back to the original source material. And Luke Evans, even though Dracula Untold didn't give people what they wanted, it's not that he was bad in the role. And like, that's the thing. I just think he will bring something to this. I didn't want them to do a straight remake of this because I do think those are sacred films, especially with what went down with poor Brandon, you know? So it's just kind of a haunting production to be a part of. But, you know, with the original creator involved and all these elements, and even if it's just descriptions, just like, how are you going to pull that one off? I am intrigued. So it is getting a little more interesting as more details emerge. All right, my friends, before we jump into mailbag, I do want to remind you, we do have some time for a couple Twitter questions, so please tweet at AMC Movie News, and Miss Sinead over there might take a couple of yours. Also, before we jump in, I want to tell you about a little movie called Nightcrawler that opens today. Perfect timing for Halloween. Jake Gyllenhaal stars in it in it's my favorite performance of his, and he has so many, but it's about LA freelance crime journalism. It's fascinating and provocative. Dan Gilroy, it's his directorial debut. I cannot say enough good things about it. I'm going to play a little clip from my interview with Gyllenhaal right now. I love how, you know, Dan brilliantly didn't judge the character. He kind of let us decide that. And I mean, there were a lot of things you could judge about him, but again, he kind of left it up to the audience. So that idea of a moral code was fascinating to me. Will you kind of talk about Lou's moral code if it exists in this movie?
I think Lou's moral code is created by the internet and the information he gets off of it. I mean, a lot of morals, I think, are created by human interaction. And over time, centuries, obviously, you know, people have said, oh, when you do this, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right in the order of the universe, you know. But Lou doesn't exist in that way. His universe is the internet. His information is based off of, you know, self-help, sort of corporate world dialogue and soliloquy and information. And so his personality is created from that, more than human interaction. I mean, I found myself playing him even when we were doing it totally isolated, you know. I didn't spend a lot of time with people, and I think that helped because that was Lou, you know. Isolated, creating a personality based on the internet, really. And so his moral code is based on that. And there, you know, that's a very, I don't know, it's a very impersonal kind of code to live by.
Nightcrawler is now playing, and if you want to see the rest of that interview, very eloquent, amazing actor right there, check out our new YouTube channel at AMC Independent. Of course, we have our AMCI Indie Spotlight show, good directors with Dan Gilroy and Rene Russo, who is still a babe at 60. Lots of other good things. Sam Rockwell interview. Check that out, guys. Thanks for your support. All right, now on to mailbag. What's the first question picked out?
Corey Morris wrote, "Good day from Australia. I found your show about a year ago and I haven't missed an episode. I'm curious to know who your favorite acting family is. For example, Ben and Casey Affleck, Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal, Will and Jaden Smith, ha 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 ha, and John and Joan Cusack, to name a few. Mine would probably be Zoe and Emily Deschanel. Thanks, and bring on the filthy."
Great question. There are a lot. I mean, we just talked about the Coen brothers. They're up there. The first huge family that comes to mind are the Coppolas. I mean, beyond just the directors, Sophia, Gia, Francis Ford, Roman, all of them. Then you go on to, Jason Schwartzman and all the other people, Nick Cage. The dynasty is gigantic. I will definitely say that the Afflecks have just continued to impress me as well. When they first emerged on the scene, I honestly didn't think too much of either of their acting abilities. And then Ben Affleck has become one of the best directors out there right now, and he's also improved in front of the lens. And Casey Affleck, man, he's really been coming into his own. Even his short bit in Interstellar was fantastic. So I think they're really fantastic as well. But I'd say Coppola's and Coen brothers for me. Jeanette?
Probably the Baldwin brothers. Just kidding. No, they've got a good amount of movies there. I'm going to go with Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas,
good one.
and Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland. To me, it's I guess Donald Sutherland wins a little bit more. He's got more flavor. It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He's been in so many movies.
Buffy, come on!
It's countless how many movies he's been in, and now he's in Mockingjay and all that. So
they both have such an interesting on-screen presence.
Yeah.
The Sutherlands, they just a very interesting look in their voices and
then Martin Sheen, Charlie
Emilio
Sheen,
Estevez.
Emilio Estevez.
Yeah,
so that whole family,
very
powerhouse
talented.
family.
You had
super
Bryce
talented.
Dallas Howard, Ron Howard,
Yep.
Angelina Jolie, John Voight, Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson. Casey Affleck, he was great in Out of the Furnace. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, so I
Woody
thought that was a good call.
Harrelson. Whew, that was an Oscar-worthy performance, if you ask me.
Yeah, for me, it's not based on acting talent. My favorite acting family is the Baldwins, just because it's four brothers. Alex always.
I had to mention him. Yeah.
Alex, obviously the main one. He's the most talented one, the one we know. But then just having William, Steven, and
Who's the
Daniel
cuter
together.
one?
Right.
What was
Billy Baldwin.
Yeah. And Steven.
Adam Baldwin.
Steven was in
keep
Usual
multiplying.
Suspects.
How many Baldwins are there? About 27. Yeah. They should have a Baldwin reality show. Ding, 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 ding. All the Baldwins on a riverboat or something. I'd see that.
I would see that too.
The Baldwin
The
family.
Wahlburgers, the Mark Wahlberg reality show.
Yeah, the Wahlbergs. Yeah.
Aw, poor little Wahlberg hasn't quite hit the big time yet. Anyway, what's next?
Davis, the 61er, writes, "Hey all, what's up? I have a question. Is this year's Oscar Best Actor race even better than last year? Last year, there were probably at least 10 actors who could have been nominated for Best Actor, but there were two very clear-cut favorites early on. So far this year, it seems like there might be less because it looks like there seems to be no clear favorite to win. There seems to be 4 or 5 of them right now, I think. Thanks."
Yeah, great question. There are just that is the tightest race this year, in my opinion. Best Actor. Of course, we have Benedict Cumberbatch, Imitation Game. We have Michael Keaton, Birdman. Amazing. And beyond just the performance, he's a legacy actor. It's, really showing his body of work. We see that a lot. Jack O'Connell in Unbroken, that's the one that I have not seen yet, so I don't know his performance. Eddie Redmayne, I'm on an Eddie Redmayne campaign. Theory of Everything, he plays Stephen Hawking, of course, and that's such a difficult role, but beyond that, the power he brought, we know the brilliant man and the robotic voice and things like that, but I didn't know how it came to be, and it's just done in such a powerful way, and he was able, and he's such a humble, wonderful man. But truly, he had to map the deterioration of this disease and to show different levels and channels of it happening throughout the course of a life. And films don't shoot in linear sequence. He was going all over the place. So to be able to slip back into that, it's mind-blowing to me, the kind of talent that takes. And just the expression from his eyebrows and just the few muscles he could move. So I'm blown away by that.
That movie's not out yet, though.
No, it comes out the 7th, next Friday.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for it and was
Yeah.
I gotta see this as soon as it comes out.
But you guys have seen some of these. What are the ones that stand out to you?
I actually haven't seen most of them because a lot of them aren't out yet. I wanted to see Nightcrawler last night. I heard
Jake Gyllenhaal should be nominated too.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about Steve Carell and Foxcatcher. Theory of Everything, you've been telling me it's good. I have to see that. So for right now, for me, it's Michael Keaton, Birdman. I mean, he delivers a fantastic performance.
It's such a good movie.
And just it's different layers of an actor's mind in terms of the relationships and the seeking of validation and all kinds of stuff. I think that's going to be the front runner.
It's very relevant.
I don't think the movie itself has a good shot at winning Best Picture.
Hope so.
It's my favorite movie of the year, but I don't think, it's the Academy's an older kind of generation. I don't see them putting a movie like that that's so out there as their number one movie.
I would disagree. I think it not only will it get nominated, but I think it's a front runner to win an Oscar. And it's whether or not an old person or young person is watching it, it hits you, and it's an emotional film, and it's so current. It's like dealing with so many things that all of us talk about all the time: superhero films, being in the business, running out of time, not doing what you wanted, all these different things. And I definitely, when I saw that movie and I came out of that film, I was like, I know who won the Oscar. His name is Michael Keaton. It's in the bag. It doesn't matter. It's like, I'll see all these other movies, but no one's gonna beat that performance. And especially just the way that film is shot, it's all about the acting. I mean, the camera work is incredible too, but it's up on people's faces. Everyone is acting. Edward Norton is going to win a supporting actor.
He should.
He blew it out of the park. I mean, it's like, that film is just so incredible. Emma Stone, every single person in that movie just brought such an amazing reality to it. Yeah. I mean,
Amy Ryan, Zach Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis, incredible. I mean, even Zach Galifianakis is so funny, and he just has those little edges of his personality that come in, yet he played that character to the T.
And he played a different character than his hangover character or his due date character.
Yeah, he shows he can really act. You brought up Steve Carell. I don't know what they're going to do in that category. I don't know if they're going to pull a fighter and push him in supporting, because he might sweep that easier. Because, Channing Tatum's really, this is his movie, but he is in it a lot as well, so they could do co-lead or they could put it that way, and I don't think people would be upset about it, but I do think that Hollywood, there is a formula to who they pick, and I do think Keaton, I mean, it's so relevant right now, but also the unlikely heroes in Stephen Hawking and Alan Turing for Benedict, so I do think those would probably be the front runners in my eyes, but 71, Jack O'Connell, also, Louis Zamperini, I mean, that's talk about a hero, so it's going to be a tight race, but I am so excited. All right, we have time for just a couple questions. What is the first one that piqued your interest?
At Cakes Mitchell asks, when horrors rely mainly on jump scares, does that annoy you guys?
Yeah, it does. I don't like cheap scares. I mean, I personally love horror films, as I've made very clear on the show, and even if a film is like on the cheesier end, but it still has those fun scares, I can still have fun with it. I'm not going to cement it as a great horror film, but it's enjoyable, and I just love the adrenaline and the rest. But I like more the psychological horrors that actually take their time, and I think that James Wan has done a really good job at combining all different genres of horror films to do the ghostly world and the psych horror and those jump scares, just a few of them enough. So I think he's, Conjuring. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of really good films he's done. Dennis?
And, not being a super horror fan, I don't mind the jump scares as long as they're not the only thing a movie has. I like, more psychological horror films. The one thing that annoys me is, and maybe that's why I don't watch as much horror, is the reliance on blood and guts, just that. Like a whole movie just blood, you know what I mean? Without any purpose. It has to I'd rather more trickles of blood or more psychological.
Trickles of blood.
Yeah, just, coming under
a staircase.
Yeah, exactly. That's more scary to me, to be honest. The Shining or something like that, Session 9 or something like that.
Red rum.
So you want a story with your beheadings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Weird.
I love horror films. I love gore films. I love suspense films. I love the unseen, the scene. I love all kinds of horror. Yeah, so any kind of horror film I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
And jump scares, I like them. I like them when they're sprinkled in, like somebody's opening a door and they trip, and it's like, what? It's a can. I'm like, oh, they got everybody. And you're irritated, and then a weird creature is right behind them. It's like, horror films, when you go see a horror film, why are you going to see it? You want to be scared.
Yeah.
And I want to be scared. I don't want to be bored when I go see a horror film. I want something, and every time a new horror film comes out, I want something new. I don't want the recycled something. So it is a game that filmmakers have to keep, amping up and ramping up, when are we going to bring out the creature or the supernatural thing or the murderer or this or that or any kind of the psychological horror. It's like all those kinds of things. It's within the story. And of course, they always bring in that cat in the alley or somebody dropped something or, there's always a, hey, what's up? Oh, with the musical sting. There's all those cheap scares which are still fun when they're all inside of a horror film.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a great horror film.
Yeah.
Usually they don't have to rely on the
Just
cheap
the cheap
scares.
scares.
Yeah.
But they are sprinkled in, and
Yeah.
that's why it's fun with an audience, because you're like,
Yes.
oh, it's coming,
Yeah.
and then it usually doesn't, and then it comes.
Yeah.
So I think some of those are good, but not as the only method of scaring your audience.
Yeah.
The balance, baby. All right, one more question.
At Beta Artemis asks, hey guys, with the live trailer event tomorrow for Fast and Furious 7, will you be there, and what are you looking forward to see?
I will not be there. I am very curious what's going to happen with this film. I mean, it's been a very difficult production, especially, James Wan coming from horror, which was the #1 most fascinating aspect of this franchise to me, because I think he's going to add something really great to those car chases and to all of that. And obviously the tragic passing of Paul Walker and everything surrounding this, it has not been an easy film to be made. So I don't know what we're going to see, but I am definitely looking forward to it. And this movie is going to make a lot of money. Excuse me. Doctor?
I'm not going to be at the live event either. Hopefully if I can wake up early enough to go to Kamikaze on Saturday. The Fast franchise, I like it now, especially since the fifth one, the fifth and sixth one. So I'm looking forward to the movie, but it's just not one of those movies that I'm like, I have to see every little nugget about.
Yeah.
When it comes, and I'll be excited.
Yeah, so they're just showing like a clip or something, or is it the trailer?
I think.
Yeah, I'll see it online, I'm excited to see the trailer online. I'm not going to go somewhere to go see it, like wait outside. Is there a ghost in the car? No. It's like, what's the new wrinkle that they're going to add? They're, continuing the franchise. So I'm sure there's amazing stunts, cool car chases, and it's cool to, see how they handle the Walker situation. I'll be interested to see how James Wan adds whatever kind of flavor he's going to add to it that's different. So, but we'll see that when the trailer drops.
Yeah, I'm not going to make it a live event, but
Yeah.
bless your heart for those who do. You know what, Sinead, it's Halloween. If you still have them open, let's take one more question. If you don't worry about it.
All right, at Micah Harshaw asks, what's a movie that scared you so much you had to turn on all the lights after watching it?
I love the horror themed. I just love Halloween so much. I definitely had a dance party to Thriller on the way here, just gonna tell you that. I don't know, Halloween, the original John Carpenter, as a child freaked me out because Michael Myers is literally what the stuff nightmares are made of. Those are the films that terrify me more, the sociopathic / psychopath, like where does that line end? So as a child, that freaked me out. And it was also an indie film that was made with a really small budget that went on to gross a lot of money, and so many horror films have taken that. But a random obscure one was Monkey Shines. I saw that film when I was really young, and I was like, a scary monkey, but it's freaky. So I recommend that for a very bizarre horror film. What about you guys?
For me, Session 9, there's a couple scenes in it. One is where one of the characters is just listening to the old tapes from the insane asylum, and it's broad daylight, and it's just really, really creepy. And then another is when he goes back to the insane asylum late at night, and it's just pitch black, and it just freaked me out.
Love it.
For me, when I was a lot younger, it was Nightmare on Elm Street. That movie scared the piss out of me. I would go every Friday and go see a movie, and this one I had two girls digging their claws on me, and I was
You're
the
like,
dude who wanted to. No, at first I was like, I'll sit in between you two, and and then I was the wimp, this movie's freaking me out. I wanted to leave. They were like, no, it was like literally. And recently, The Conjuring. I really loved that film.
Good.
It was such a really well-made horror film that spoilers at the end with with the blood and see, that's not really a spoiler, but you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. Yeah, floaty chair.
This isn't a
stuff.
horror film, but this freaked me out when I was little. I saw aliens.
Yeah.
And I was so scared.
Crazy.
I was like, oh my God, stuff is coming out of their stomach. It freaked me the hell out. Now I can watch it.
And we need to talk about Kevin for psychological horror. That movie messed with
my
me.
God.
I literally saw it with my friends and then walked back to my car alone, and I was looking over my shoulder. It messed with me, but I love that. I love the adrenaline. All right, guys, we're gonna cut the show right here. I'd like to thank my wonderful panel for today. Sitting to my right, the professor, Mr. Dennison.
You guys can find me on Twitter @ThinkHero or on Instagram dennis.tzng, and have a happy Halloween.
My skeleton brother from another mother, John Schnapp.
at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH on Twitter and Instagram. And come to Stan Lee's Kamikaze this weekend. I've got a booth. You can see some clips from The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. And we've got amazing panels on Saturday. We've got a Sweaty Nerds panel. We've got, just come on Saturday. There's a bunch of fun stuff. Stan Lee's Kamikaze, LA Convention Center.
It's been fun watching your term, Sweaty Nerds, just have a life of its own. Our lovely cat gatekeeper for today, Sinead DeFries, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at thatsosinead.com. You guys have a happy, safe, and fun Halloween.
And I'm Amy Rose with AMC Movie News. You can find me at Amy Rosie at the various social channels. Thanks so much for coming to hang out with us on this Halloween Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.